Hello, ESS crew. It's Kara Lenorovitz, and welcome back into our sixth week of segment two. Hopefully, this finds all of you on the other side of what was a good and relaxing and enjoyable February break, with hopefully a little bit of time away from your computers as well. We have some pretty fun stuff that we're going to be doing this week, but I want to just recap a little bit of housekeeping stuff. As you know, the weekly learning plan is going to continue to be a great resource for you, so please make sure you're checking that out, particularly because I'm going to continue to add in additional resources there to help you make sense of some of the content we're working on. We are this week on Thursday, March 4th, going to return to our regular synchronous sessions. So if you're in segment A or section A, I will see you from 11 to 11:45. Section B, I will see you from 1 to 1:45, and section C, I will see you at our regular time from 2 to 2:45. It'll be great to have everybody back together again. Also this week, we are returning to normal office hours, so you are welcome to sign up if you'd like to stop in to say hello, if you have a specific question, or if you'd like some assistance with something. So those are back Tuesday, 8:30 to 10:30, and Wednesday afternoon from 1 to 3. So feel free to reserve a time for yourself on the Canvas calendar. And coming up soon, we are actually getting close to wrapping up Module 7. That's what you're going to be focusing on this week, is the last bit of content in Module 7 on oceans. And next week, you're going to be taking your DBA for Module 7 and then starting on Module 8. So some exciting changes coming your way. But before we do that, you actually have some pretty cool stuff that you're going to be focusing on this week. So I know probably many of us might have dreamed of going somewhere for February break, even if that's not a normal thing for you. And we can't this year for lots of different reasons. So hopefully the content this week will give you an opportunity to travel, at least take a little bit of a trip to the ocean. In the first part of what you're going to be working on this week, you're going to be thinking about the relationship between the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun, and the gravitational force that each of those bodies exerts on each other, specifically as it's expressed in tides. For those of you who've been to the ocean before, depending on where you are, there are high tides and low tides every day. In some cases, there are 2 high tides and 2 low tides. And those tides are actually really, really long waves that are caused by the gravitational pull of the sun and the moon. And depending on how the sun and the moon are lined up relative to Earth's position, you can either have really high tides or really low tides, or something in between. So you're going to be learning a little bit about those interactions. In the next part of what you're working on with Module 7, you're going to be thinking about ocean interactions more broadly. You're going to be thinking about how the oceans, as a huge body of water that covers over 70% of Earth's surface, actually have influences on the geosphere, the atmosphere, the biosphere, and the cryosphere. You're going to be thinking about all of those other systems. At the end of that module, you're going to be giving some special consideration to what's going on in the very northern pole of the Earth, where the Arctic sea ice typically resides. And you're going to be comparing and contrasting what the typical extent of sea ice is in the Arctic and what it looks like today. This graphic is a pretty good visual for you. The area that's highlighted in red here is actually area that should have ice, but no longer did as of last September. So you're going to be thinking a little bit about what does that do, the fact that there isn't ice present, in terms of the reflectivity of the sun, in terms of what that might do for ocean temperatures, what it might happen in terms of further warming, how that might impact the biosphere. And then you're also going to be making some considerations and connections back to human actions. In what ways as humans might we be responsible for some of that melting? And in what ways as humans might we be able to change some of our behaviors in order to lessen that impact? Lastly, you're going to be returning to your work with engineering design. So you're either focusing on water scarcity, on air pollution, or the challenges of space exploration. So you started that project a couple of weeks ago. You did some initial background research to learn more about the issue itself. This week, you're going to be taking that the next step farther, and you're going to be thinking about some of the constraints and some of the limitations of each one of those solutions, and trying to think about criteria that are going to be important in coming up with a solution. No one is suggesting that you're going to solve global water scarcity or all of air pollution or be able to launch the next Mars Perseverance, but you're going to be thinking about that issue in terms of the criteria that we need to consider in addressing that kind of challenge, and then also prioritizing how we might address those criteria. So let's take a look at the weekly learning plan. Awesome. So welcome back to the typical format. You're going to see a quick introduction and context right at the top there for you. Again, the learning objectives that you're going to focus on for this week. some reminders about communication and pacing, and then your to-do list. So you will notice in this to-do list, I've linked the last time we had a DBA. That information is there for you should you still want to refer to it. Your first area, again, is tides and water power. So in the first part, again, you're going to be thinking about that sun, moon, earth relationship and the tug of gravity on Earth's water causing high and low tides. I would recommend for yourself that you consider watching one or more of the supplementary videos just to give you a little bit more visual context for some of the ideas that come up in that reading. You'll also learn a little bit more about water power, so using the flow of the tides to generate electricity. So that's also a pretty intriguing part of that aspect of the module. You'll take a short quiz there, and then you're going to head into ocean interactions. Here again, you're going to be thinking about lots of different ways the oceans interact with other systems, and then honing in at the end, thinking about Arctic sea ice. And then the third part, of course, you're going to be working on engineering design. This is part 2. The project is broken into 4 parts. You've already done part 1, which is identifying your issue and doing background research. Again, in part 2, you're going to be digging in a little bit more to the next steps of engineering, thinking about criteria and constraints for that problem. So you'll be completing engineering design part 2. Just know right up front that that may involve a little bit additional background research. As you learn more about your problem, you might find that there's more information that you need to gather. And again, we will get back together as a full class on Thursday. You'll see office hours are listed there, our same helpful resources, and then the quick preview of your upcoming work. All right, here's our quick recap. So this week you're going to complete 7.04 and 7.05, tides and water power first. There are some ideas that come up in this section that you might find helpful in 7.05, and then you're going to focus on ocean interactions, and you have some opportunities there to make connections to prior learning. You'll then work on your engineering design, 7.08, and turn that in, and on Thursday we will all see each other for a big class meeting again. Again, reminder, please feel free to reach out if you need help or if you want to check in. I will be available via email and during office hours. Have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you on Thursday.